Today's video is all about Plasma, redefining how money moves, stablecoin infrastructure for a new global financial system. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, guys. We're going to be looking into some of the fundamentals such as the tokenomics, the team, the overall value proposition, and ultimately trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins looking for opportunity. And the question is Plasma XPL the opportunity? Guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive today, looking into some of the fundamentals. We need to be looking at some of the key features, obviously looking at tokenomics, the team, the overall value proposition, the tech stack, and many other little details that could make us fundamentally bullish. At the end of the day, guys, you guys know that I'm going to be taking a retail perspective. I'm coming in from the retail mindset. I want to make sure that all retailers get all the details they need to get bullish. The team has to have given us all the information we need, white papers, proper documentation, website with all the details and all that good stuff. So let's begin. Obviously, this is the landing page of their website. As you can see, nice graphics, very engaging, and so on. And we want to make sure that everything is here, pretty much all the links, everything that is required. Okay, so we're going to kind of scrape through this, open up some tabs and kind of dig deep here as best as we can. Just another, understanding is that number one, this is not a tech review per se, right? We're trying to take a very Web3 crypto-based perspective. Okay, so we don't need a physics degree, we don't need a mathematics degree, we don't need a computer science degree to understand, hopefully, to understand what Plasma is. And in addition, guys, it's very important to understand that the retail perspective, like that's the perspective that we take. Okay, so let's continue going down. Plasma is a high-performance layer 1 blockchain built for stablecoins. Guys, that's amazing. Right? The fact that we can, within few seconds of just scrolling, we get the general idea of what this project is all about. It's the stablecoin narrative. It's a hot narrative. It's an important narrative. We know that at the end of the day, I know it's a bit of a pun, but it provides stability for the cryptocurrency market, right? And we have a dependency on stablecoins for this purpose, right? So designed for stablecoins from the ground up, Plasma powers near instant fee-free payments with institutional grade security. Okay, so it does sound like, another L1. There's many L1s nowadays, some of them that are within the stablecoin narrative. And it is what it is. But really, has one project really spearheaded and got the first mover advantage to really dominate? That's what I look at. Now, yes, there are many L1s. Like, this is going to be one of the major criticisms, especially as new L1s get introduced to the market. Oh, not another L1, promising speed, promising this, promising that. That's not the point here. It's just that you got to ask yourself, is there room for one of those projects to get the first mover advantage? And I say yes. I say yes because when we talk about stablecoins, we also talk about payments. It's particularly micro transactions that are meant to be for the daily use case. Not big purchases. We want low fees. We want speed. We want security. We want to be able to transact without friction. And if Plasma can offer us that value proposition, ultimately it has a chance of spearheading the first mover advantage. And that's what we're looking at here. So you can see it supports a lot. We see a few common logos here, which is great. We have obviously USDT. We got USDC somewhere here. I hope I see USDC. We see quite a bit here. And that's the thing. Different stable coins, privacy ones. I see CRV. I see a few others. So check those out. Go check those out. Designed for stable coins. Okay, so we know that that is one of the hotter narratives this cycle. Like I mentioned, so we just got to keep that in mind. We have transfer fees 0, block times quick, transactions per second quick. Okay, so it's quick. We got the point there. Best tooling to build stablecoin applications. So this is where we get to a point where specialization is important, because yes, there are lots of L1s, but now we have to take it to the next level. We have enough generic L1s. There's L1s that do everything under the sun. Unfortunately, they didn't really. Those L1s are going to have a hard time unless they quickly pivot into focusing, on one narrative or one use case. When you have specialization, it allows you to tailor your tech stack to provide the best experience for that utility, for that use case. So what they did say is, okay, we're another L1. However, the way we're going to design this thing is not just like any other L1. We're going to focus primarily on stablecoin support and the applications that are going to be built on the chain. So this is good. And you can see there's some partners here. Now, I'm not sure, what kind of partnerships they do. I try to look up some of them, like exactly what they bring, what value propositions they bring. These are not clickable. I went on X to see if there was any announcements. Couldn't find much, but it is what it is. Okay, so there's some relationships here, as you can see. I think there's one relationship that a lot of people have been talking about lately that we're going to spend some time in talking about in a second. So we can see that we have countries, like technically speaking, countries. It should be, it's a blockchain. It should be decentralized. It should be without boundaries and borders and so on. Currencies, lots of different stable coins and so on, and payment methods. Interesting. So trying to be frictionless. This is basically what it says. There's very little friction here, and that is their effort, is to make less friction so they can be used across the world with many currencies and many modes. Interesting. Okay, good stuff there. Backed by, okay, this, for the most part, when you see backed by, this is basically saying, look, we got some runway. And the reason why we have some runway is because we got these individuals, hooking us up. And you can see right now the first one is Bitfinex. Okay, we're going to talk about Bitfinex in a minute when we take a look at some of the other little details. But that's an important one. Put that into your vault in your mind, and then we'll definitely talk about that one. But you can see these are all like VCs, capital. Whenever you see the word capital or VC or something like that, flow trader, this is all venture capitalists. These are individuals that are just pouring capital into the project. Just keep in mind, these are individuals that also want a return on their investment. Okay, so, and they got early allocations, better allocation than the average retailer. Now, this is, great to have a bit of, how can I say, testimonial per se, or perspectives. I like this. These are different perspectives of, influential individual, whether they be, part of government or, part of a strong organization. We are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that. That's a statement, guys. What does that tell you? Right? What does that tell you about where the U.S. dollar could be going and the future of the capital markets? And you can see all the writings on the wall right now for very an important re-engineering of the capital markets that's happening right now. It might happen sooner than one expects, right? Look at all this, guys. These are great things that people have been saying. This is one of the individuals that we want to talk about, because not only is this individual one of the heads of Tether and also Bitfinex. So we'll talk about Paulo in a second. Let's keep on going down. Global reach, real impact. Again, we kind of talked about this. It's global, lots of currencies, lots of this and that. Stablecoin deposits, supported stablecoins. Again, a little bit of repetition, but the graphics are nice. Let's leave it at that. And then we see the conclusion of the website where we have the footer. Lots of good links. I would definitely take a look at documentation. Plasma One, we'll talk about this in a second. If you're looking for a job, they got a career section. That's cool. Learning is always welcome, guys. Learning is amazing. The insight section is like a blog, which we'll kind of scrape through, obviously. And the frequently asked questions, I also did scrape through, and these are very useful, particularly, just giving already digested information to people that don't really have a good grasp of key fundamentals when talking about the tech stack. It simplifies its core utility, and I like that. Legal, and again, feel free to check all of that out for full transparency and regulatory policies that they may have. All right, guys, let's continue. What else? The website did a good job. Now, I do have a few tabs open that I've, went through. And like I said, the frequently asked questions here, the FAQ. What is Plasma? What is their definition of Plasma? Plasma is a layer 1 blockchain designed for global stablecoin payments. Clean and clear. There's no ambiguity here. And for the most part, that's a benefit, right? You're not questioning what is plasma. You go and spend an hour, 2 hours researching, deep diving, and then at the end you start asking yourself, what is plasma? Like that doesn't make any sense. It is very clear what it is and what its focus is, right? What are stablecoins? Again, if you're new to the space, I guess that's what you're asking. Stablecoins are borderless digital dollars built for the internet, offering a simple way to send, hold, and use money without volatility. So the bigger question is what is it pegged to? What gives it that stability? And this is where, innovation comes into play with algorithmic stable coins. This is where, obviously the US dollar, for the most part, all of these currencies are using the peg of the US dollar. It is what it is, guys. So this is something that we need to understand and come to just basically be aware of. Why now? Let's see. Stablecoin are rapidly growing adoption in its use, guys. This is one of the hotter narratives of the cycle. There are a couple good ones like real world assets, but if you kind of ask yourself, isn't stable coins in general, currency, fiat currency, a real world type of asset? It is. And what's really happening here is we're trying to tokenize those fiat currencies to be stable as those fiat currencies are. And this is how USDT works, right? Stable pegged to the US dollar. So, in a way, it is almost like a real world asset if you think about it. Anything that is in the real world that is being tokenized is a real world asset narrative. So, I do kind of like what we're doing here is because we're realizing that USDT in itself or stable coins in themselves have a utility. It's not just about utility. What can I do with it on chain? Is it AI? Is it this? No, its utility is just transactional, and transactional for the most part is what currency is, reality. So the narrative is a necessity, and the stablecoin narrative, back to DeFi and back to way we're restructuring our capital markets and such, guys. It's a very important narrative. So it is what it is. Guys, we got to just keep on speculating here. What are the key benefits to build on Plasma? So no, we forget that it's an L1, right? This is the thing. They're building the infrastructure so that other projects can use this stablecoin idea to deploy other DeFi projects or anything else that might relate to this narrative. Plasma's purpose built for stablecoins, offering zero fee for USDT transfers, custom gas tokens, so you're allowed to use your own token for gas instead of using whatever it is, and you can define what kind of gas and what kind of details you want with regards to that gas, and a confidential transaction, so a bit of privacy there, which is other narrative that has been waking up in the last few months. Obviously, these features combine to deliver a fast, cheaper, and simpler experience for both developers and users, making it ideal for foundation for applications that move money. So it's about moving value through the space in a cheaper, faster way, having full control over this gas, transactional fee agenda, and ultimately giving them the offer of a zero fee of USDT transfers. This is interesting. Okay, so let's keep on going on. What consensus mechanism does Plasma use? It's a very simple one, but it's interesting. Plasma is secured by Plasma BFT, a high performance implementation of fast, hot stuff written in Rust. So Rust is a programming language. It's known to be fast and easy to compile. It combines the safety of a Byzantine fault tolerant BFT consensus, which basically gives you that safety of, let's say, you only need two out of the three validators to secure a transaction, which makes it so that if even a portion of the validators go rogue, it doesn't provide a threat to the overall chain. And that's basically what it is. Low latency consensus, enabling high throughput and deterministic guarantees required for stablecoin scale applications. What powers Plasma execution layer? So we're getting into a little bit of the tech stack a little bit here. So it is interesting because it's powered by Reth, a modular Ethereum execution client written in Rust. So we can see that there's a bit of a modularity here because you can see that we have layers. You have the consensus already, you can see, and it enables fast, efficient state execution without compromising EVM correctness. So EVM virtual machine, the Ethereum virtual machine, is referenced here because we have EVM possibilities, which is good. So not only do they have the execution layer, their own, which is powered by Reth, but it is also modular in the sense that the Ethereum execution client is written in Rust and EVM compatible correctness is possible. This is interesting. Okay, so we know that EVM compatibility has been a very necessary thing for the network effect. What does that mean? That means that if you're a developer, you are looking for other EVM chains. This way, it's easy to deploy because if you already have the tooling for EVM and Ethereum and all the other EVM chains, it's a lot easier to make your project cross-platform, right, cross chain. And this is where EVM comes in. But not only that, it's a lot easier to find that liquidity across the chain, because you're EVM compatible. So this is interesting, very interesting stuff. How is Plasma different from other blockchains? Guys, there's a lot of good questions. I don't know if I'm going to go through all of these, but we'll try to do this. Point of differentiation is also important. It ensures that it is the best blockchain for global money. And this is where it wants to do. It wants to make that speed, that transactional level speed, the network security, and so on, and stable coin and all that, and payments. Guys, we have to talk about Plasma 1 in a second because that's important. Are there any additional features? The bridge. There is a Bitcoin bridge. Obviously, it's not native Bitcoin, but it's going to be some sort of backed asset that is backed by Bitcoin. It could be a wrapped Bitcoin or something like that, but it's trying to basically make it accessible, make Bitcoin accessible to the Plasma chain, which is interesting, which is good. Ultimately, it's not a native Bitcoin type of scenario, so I wouldn't even classify it as part of the Bitcoin narrative altogether. Okay, so just be very, a lot of projects do have this wrapped Bitcoin idea. Will all of the Plasma features be available on day one? I highly doubt that's the case. Everything's a work in progress, guys. Take all roadmap agendas as a grain of salt type of thing, because sometimes they meet, sometimes they don't. To the point that I've noticed that a lot of projects nowadays don't even offer roadmaps because they know that sometimes they don't meet the milestones. So it is what it is. As you can see, feel free to read that. What does Plasma Network? Zero fees and transfers. How does Plasma blockchain accrue value? So you can see this is a little bit more about how they work with the USDT. Transfers remove the need for a native tokens to enable seamless, frictionless payments, ideal for micropayments, remittance, and global commerce. Guys, read all of these. They're great. And obviously, as you get into the testnet and other things for developers, XPL, what is XPL? How can I use it? And it's a native token for the chain. Let's be real. It's similar to ETH and Bitcoin, right? And ultimately, you're allowed to stake it. You get rewards. You get all kinds of different features if you use the Plasma One card and so on and so forth. We'll talk about all its utilities and all of that in a second. Guys, don't forget I do a summary of all this deep dive towards the end. I'm going to put a link in the description on the timestamp so you can just quickly navigate to that for future reference. Okay, so let's continue on. So that gives us a good idea of what they're really building here. Now, the Plasma One concept, I think this is interesting. Now, one may say, they have a relationship with Visa. That is it Visa? I think it is Visa. That they have a little bit of a relationship here because they were able to issue the card. It's a derivative of Visa. We'll talk about the name in a second, exactly what it is. But here it is. You got a faster, cheaper, better. You got the ability to use this card, spend while you earn real worlds rewards, earn up to 4% cash back, extra boosts, at different partners, borderless coverage, 150 countries, zero fee for transfers on board in minutes. Okay, so this is good. One app, one card, no borders. Cool. They have an app as well. Best cash back. Okay. And I'm not trying to, shill this whatsoever, but it shows you that ultimately they have a way to make, again, those microtransactions using your stables easy, right? And it's your capital, which is good. So you have Apple Pay, Google Pay, which is cool. Security that protects every payment. Interesting there. Make stable coins your everyday money. This is the concept. Frequently asked questions. Again, is Plasma One a bank? No. It's a financial technological company, basically. It is. It offers business, it offers money services, and so on. So just understand that. Now you can see right here, it's a license. So the Plasma One card is issued by Signify Holdings Inc., pursuant to a license from Visa. So what's going on here is that it's like it is they're using the Visa network pretty much, and this is the thing. This is how they're able to do it, and these individuals have a license from Visa, so they're able to achieve that. So good stuff. Again, if you want to know more about how they're trying to do this, dig deeper. There are some more links and frequently asked questions that you can get into details with. Which again, we're building the idea of what Plasma is all about. Now we're going to look at their documentation. Okay, so we can start here where they intend us to start. Look, a lot of what we talked about already is going to be repetitive, so I'm going to do my best just to focus on the important things or the things that we haven't talked about, because it is documentation, and it can be a little bit dry here, and the visuals on the website were spectacular. So let's just try our best to kind of stay there with what was offered there and not repeat. Stablecoins have become one of crypto's dominant use cases. We established that already, okay? And here, what they're doing is talking about their the reason and the purpose and so on. EVM compatibility, lots of good. This is more what you should be interested in. Plasma is fully EVM compatible. Developers can deploy contracts using the same tools and workflow that they've already become comfortable with for all these years, and this is frictionless development. This is what you want, right? Not only for the use case for the user of the chain, but the creators of the applications that are built on this chain. So good, deep liquidity. We understand that Ethereum and USDT and all of that, they provide lots of liquidity, the most that there is. Native features, we got lots of features that we talked about, and the infrastructure for stablecoins and the native Bitcoin bridge. Native Bitcoin bridge doesn't mean that we're bridging native Bitcoin. What it means that they do have a bridge that is native to Plasma. At the end of the day, this Bitcoin concept is basically it is a bridge. Developers can move Bitcoin directly into your EVM environment without relying on centralized custodian. But you have to understand it's not native Bitcoin. This is a very deceiving way to put things right now, right? Unless it is, they should say it and improve it. But EVM and Bitcoin don't match unless you're going to wrap it in some sort or have an asset that is EVM that is backed by Bitcoin, and therefore that's how you get the exposure to Bitcoin's volatility. Regardless, guys, just understand where I'm going here. Dig deeper at the end of the day. All right, let's keep on going. Why build on Plasma? Okay, so we're talking about development. We're talking about ecosystem growth. We're talking about lots of different things. So again, a lot of repetition, purpose for stable coins, high performance, Bitcoin native. This is what bothers me. Trust minimized bridge for Bitcoin. This is tough. EVM compatible, uses existing Solidity tooling. We talked about this. If you don't know what Solidity is, look it up. But it is the main programming language for EVM compatible smart contracts on Ethereum. So it is what it is. Integrated infrastructure, card issuance, and off ramps and compliance. We talked about the Plasma one, which is obviously quite nice to have and to see a real world feature that we use on a everyday life. And then we have deep liquidity, like was mentioned already. Okay, so this is it. Design philosophy, architecture. I'm sure that if you're listening to this, you're not a builder, but again, it does show that their focus is to allow individuals to build and have an experience there also for ecosystem growth. Use cases, again, remittance, micropayments is a big one for retail space. So is this one, transacting globally without any friction, with the global payouts and merchants and so on. Dollar access, of course, the stablecoin narrative and the stablecoins that are pegged to the dollar, and permissionless banking, obviously. Okay, now let's talk about things that we really are here for. So we understand the tech, we understand the value proposition, we understand what Plasma is trying to achieve. Now, tokenomics. Okay, this is where things get a little bit crypto, because up until now, this could have been just a regular, Web 2 project, right? This doesn't need to have a token. So now we have a token. We throw a token into the mix. The ticker is XPL. And what it really is, okay? So we're building the foundation infrastructure for a new global financial system where money moves at internet speed, which is fast, obviously. So in this case, we have a core asset, which is called XPL. And XPL is what drives this whole network, essentially. XPL is a native token of Plasma blockchain. It is used to facilitate transactions as well as reward. Usually, that's the basis of all tokens in the market, or coins. It's it's like a fuel, like a gas for the transactions. And in this case, there's no gas fee, but it is a transactional type of medium, right? And then in addition to that, it's about rewarding individuals to keeping this network alive. And similar is the way that Bitcoin and other blockchains, Ethereum, and so on and so forth. So it's about keeping this network alive, and XPL is what the mechanism that they have in place. So they purposefully design XPL from the mechanics to distribution to partnerships. And this is one thing that we have to understand. A lot of these projects that come out that are huge from day one, the reason why they have such high valuations is because of venture capitalists. They pump tons of capital into them based on their future expectancy. But a lot of the times, it is what it is. Their valuations based on future, right? A fully diluted valuation. Now, XPL distribution. Now, let's talk about this. This is tokenomics. This is how the tokens are going to be distributed. You see the line down the middle. Let's make this a bit bigger. You can see that we have investors. These are called VCs. These are individual venture capitalists. These are individuals that get in early. These are people that get great prices. These are people that are early stakeholders. Then you have the team. Very similar. The team could be early investors, got in at good prices, and so on and so forth. Are been working on the project, getting paid to as developers, as engineers, and so on. The team deserves to eat. We have to understand that they need to get paid. There's people, there's personnel, there's people there with families, and this is how it works, right? So they're going to be taking some of the tokens, right, as emissions happen. And that's a vesting schedule. We'll talk about the vesting schedule in a second, how these tokens are going to be emitted into the market, okay? And then you got the other half. The other half is public sale. So people like you and I getting in, possibly a little bit early through airdrop and so on and so forth, whitelisting and so on. Could be a bit of early investors there as well. And then ecosystem growth, 40%. Also part of the public domain in the sense that, it's not the core team or the investors that are getting this. This could be developers from third-party applications, ecosystem projects. This could be anything, right? Whatever would stimulate growth, this is where the funding comes from. Okay, so we got a little bit of a divide here, as you can see clearly. You got the early stakeholders, which I like to couple these two together because they come in from the same mindset. They're early. They're trying to build. They're trying to get a quick return on their investment. I know they have a long-term vision, but the truth is, as an investment perspective, they're trying to make sure that they de-risk as soon as possible. This is the reality of investing, right? So right now, as an early project, what we're seeing is that based on its evaluation, there's high expectations for this project to survive, even though the volatility has been real throughout the market in the last little while. We'll talk about price action towards the end, guys. Bear with me here. We're gonna get through this tokenomics together here. So just keep this in mind. This is the distribution at the current moment. So there's 10 billion supply. That sounds like a lot, but it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can see the public sale was quite a bit. 10% billion tokens out there, and this is purchases by non-U.S. Purchasers are fully unlocked upon launch of plasma. They already got them, and then the U.S. purchasers are subject to a 12-month lockup, and they will be emitted slowly beginning unlocked on July 28th, 2026. So no unlock just yet. Okay, so ecosystem and growth. This is this is what greases the wheels and in the gears to get things going. And this is, capital that's meant to, incentivize development and growth of the ecosystem. Just understand that you kind of want this, because without a proper ecosystem, there's no utility. And without any utility, there's no use case for XPL. So you have to understand there's a chain of events. Really, I like the fact that this is a division. The vision is to employ a lot of the capital to rebuild and build the environment that we expect to thrive off of the XPL token. So 40% of the supply, which you can see is allocated to strategic growth initiatives. 8% will be immediately unlocked at Plasma Mainnet, and the remaining 32% unlocks monthly on a pro rata basis over the following 3-year period. So a vesting schedule. We're going to look at the graph in a second so you can visualize. And the team, 1/3 are subject to a 1-year cliff, and then after that, they're gonna get a vesting schedule. The remaining of the 2/3 are unlocked monthly. Again, vesting schedule. We'll look at that again. Dig deep, guys. Read this. Understand that what is really happening. They're gonna get a lump at a certain time, 1 year cliff, and then after that, they're gonna get the rest of them slowly over time. Okay, over a basis of the following 2 year period. Okay, so investors, the same thing, very similar concept. In order to build blockchain infrastructure that would underwrite our mission to rewrite financial, see what they're trying to say is we justify getting backing capital from leading investors because we need the runway. Basically, what they're saying here. As such, Plasma received investments from high caliber investors. Okay, so fine. I gear your attention to Bitfinex. Among others, support. Okay, that's fine. Let's not read all of this. As you can see, the graph is probably the most important thing. 2025, we're reaching 2026 very, very soon. As you can see, as we lead into the first quarter, we're going to start to see some major unlocks happening in 2026 on the second quarter. And they come from the team and the investors. We've already been seeing ecosystem and public sale tokens already be emitted slowly. So right in here on Q2, as you can see, 2026 Q2, we're going to see a bit of tokens being unlocked. So we got some time till then. It could be that by then we see, maybe the peak of the bull run by then. And we see altcoin season, simmer down. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not trying to say that we are or not. This is not about that, right? What we're trying to say is, though, just bet you this. Once these tokens start to get emitted, guys, there's going to be a lot of sell pressure, especially if we see altcoins and crypto reach very euphoric levels. Okay, this is important. Like, I'm not trying to say that we're going to see altcoin seasons to millions and millions of total market cap. I'm not saying that. Billions. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is if that happens, you will bet yourself, please be aware that these individuals will be taking profit. And because of that, they will be looking for exit liquidity. So now is the time, based on you see the chart, any dips, if you're interested in XPL, get in prior to the point that these individuals get their tokens, and be prepared that as soon as they get their token, depending on market conditions, have your finger on the trigger, prepared to taking some profit, because they will. I don't care if they're the team, the core developer, CEO, doesn't matter. They're here for capitalist agendas. This is the way it works, guys. Okay, so, and they'll just buy the dip in the bear market, right? That's the way it goes. Just because the team takes profit doesn't mean that they won't buy back in later. It's just the way the market flows, okay? It is what it is. As you can see, there's lots of incentive to take profit once we start to see a lot of these tokens get into circulation. We're talking about multi-year agenda, obviously vesting schedule. Over the year, you will see more tokens being emitted. I'm hoping by then we start to see demand outperform supply, and all of this, emission won't bother and create that dilution and sell pressure. Okay, so validator network, this is very important because it has its proof of stake system, and literally if you staking, you get rewarded, and those rewards are issued to you in XPL. So XPL holders to private network consensus by assigning their stake to a validator. So you have XPL, you stake it to a validator, and then you earning and all that, the rewards for doing that and keeping the network alive. Typical POS, type of thing. Inflation schedule. Okay, this might be interesting. This is actually very important because it does have, let me just quickly show you why it's going to be important for a lot of us. Let me just go here to CoinGecko and show you this beautiful symbol here that a lot of people are afraid of. Well, I'm just going to tell you this. This is an infinite supply, max supply. It means that you can have an infinite amount of tokens, but I'm going to just be real with you. Like, it's not like they're infinite right now. They're not minted, right? Really, in order for that to happen, they need to increase the total supply. Now, what would cause the increase of the total supply? At this point, there's a bit of an issue. The issue is that the organization is not decentralized, in the sense that there's no real governance framework or any DAO implementation at the current moment, which means that we have to question who has the authority to increase the total supply, given the fact is that there's an infinite max supply. This is the question. Now again, because there's no DAO and nothing gets put into voting, as I can see and as I know and as I research, we run the risk of some sort of foundation making those shots. And that's one form of decentralization, is decentralizing the organization. That's what DAO stands for, decentralized autonomous organization. Is there a DAO? No, there is not. Okay, so Plasma does not have a DAO at the current moment. Unfortunate, but it is the case. Okay, so we're just going to kind of do our thing here to try to make sense of this, because there has to be a burn. What I mean by this is, as tokens get emitted through rewards, right, and validated rewards begin at 5% annual inflation, decreasing by 0.5% per year. And what they want to reach is that 3%. This is very common throughout the space, a very common schedule, very common, idea or structure for inflation. And then after that, what they're going to do, emissions are distributed to stakers via validators, okay, locked XPL held by the team, and investors are not eligible for unlocking rewards. Okay, that's interesting. So they don't get rewarded. But what's interesting is that they have a burn mechanism. But the most important thing is that what they're saying is that Plasma follows the EIP 1559 model, which is the Ethereum-based model. Based fee paid to transactions on Plasma blockchain are permanently burned. So what happens is, yes, there's an emissions rate for rewards, but there's also a counterbalance that keeps everything, let's say, in check or in equilibrium at a nice inflation rate, which is the burning mechanism. Base fees paid to transact on the Plasma blockchain are permanently burned, which means, yes, you're getting inflation through the rewards, but you're also getting deflation through the burning mechanism. This is how Ethereum works. This is an Ethereum architecture, okay, which is fine and it's common. Okay, so good stuff there. Again, we have to understand that the strategic need or want to have an infinite supply means that they want to make the blockchain flexible. Because it's an L1 and it's an infrastructure, what they want to be able to do is, if need be, to increase the total supply if they need it. Now, who makes that decision? That is the problem. Okay, so let's keep on going. We got Mike. I'm not going to get into all of this. Okay, this is a little bit more details. Public sale, if you want to know about what happened during the days of the public sale and the community and so on and so forth. So far we're good. Plasma chain, if you want to know more about the chain itself, again, it gets into like the details with regards to all its technicals. I'm not here to talk about the tech in too much detail. Like I said, we don't need to have a physics or computer science degree, but as you can see that there's contracts here, and very good transparency, so you can see what's going on here with the network in itself and so on. Helpful links, the Plasma contracts right here. So again, transparency. I appreciate that. Ecosystem contracts. Look at that. Everything. I've never seen this much transparency in any of the deep dives that I've done. To see that, like, you have all like proxy admin address, like every little address that you may want to research to see what's going on is here, right? This is great. Network fees, that talks about the network fees. Again, we're getting into a little bit how that works. Custom gas tokens, this is interesting. So Plasma supports custom gas tokens via the native paymaster contract. Developers can register whitelisted ERC20 tokens, such as stablecoins or ecosystem tokens, to be used as gas within their application. So you have full control over what type of token you use for gas. Very, very interesting. So this is it, guys. Then the architecture and the consensus, again, very tech-based, guys. I'm not going to the Bitcoin bridge if you want to know more about that. There's a lot here with regards to the chain itself. And I'm glad that they kind of like separated all of this, because it does get a little bit intense, right? Out of all the details. I'm not going to do it here for you guys because it's going to be quite the detail. This video will be 5 hours long. Let's move on. Payments, of course, we understand that it starts to talk about why payments are necessary in the use case, and that node operator, if you want to be a node operator, and some guides to help you throughout the whole process. Very well written documentation here. Probably one of the best that I've seen in the market, to be honest. Okay, so kudos to them for providing this. Let's see what else we got here. I know I got some more tabs open. Let's see what's going on here. For the top wallets, we saw all that transparency. I was just looking at some of the top wallets here on their Plasma scanner here that they got going on. And I noticed that we got a few. As you can see, we got Plasma Vault, Safe Proxy. I'm sure that this is some sort of multi-sig wallet, and then you got Binance holding a significant amount. Percentage wise, it's 19%. Okay, so this is the native chain treasury. Another Binance, 30%. If you add the two together, that's significant amount. Given that, we are currently not that, a lot of people are not really keen on what Binance, uh, you know, I'm not going to say if they've been doing it or not or whatever. At the end of the day, either you're pro Binance or not. Let's just keep it like that. And to see that they hold approximately 30% of the current circulating supply, if I'm not mistaken, this is the case based on what I see here. It's quite a bit. It is quite a bit. Now we have to understand it is in contract. It is locked up in a contract. It is within, the hands of Binance. It is what it is, guys. And you can see we got Bitfinex and many others. Um, it is, guys, do your due diligence. It's all here. These are the top accounts that are holding XPL that we can see. Now, I did kind of look into here. Again, I just want to touch base on the visuals behind the tokenomics and the vesting schedule. As you can see, we've got the ecosystem coming out and the public sale is already done. And now we're just waiting again right into here to see the linear unlock for investors and the team. This is where things get a little bit scary. Okay, guys, be careful around here. Put this on your calendar because once this happens, we're going to see real risk of dilution. So we're hoping that we start to see a good pump in this market prior to that. And then this is where you got to be very careful. Okay. Soon after that, just understand they will be taking profits. So trail up that stop loss just in case. As you can see, we do have, a clear vesting schedule right into here, unlocking a few tokens, 2%, 2%, 2.22% of the allocation every so often, as you can see. So the next one is in 29 days. It looks like it's a monthly thing. So be careful. Every month, 2%, 2%, 2%, and then it ramps up significantly when it comes into this level. Okay, so just to be aware. Another thing to be aware of is back to this VC type of mentality because there's a lot of backers. We'll start up here just to kind of show you. Bitmart, Gate, they all have liquidity, Mexi, and so on. And then we have Echo, Impossible Finance, more VCs, the IDO, ICO, IDOs. You can see strategic rounds. You can see all into here. We got Bybit. I'm sure you got a few others that got in early here. Bitfinex here in Series A and undisclosed Bitfinex. And then again, undisclosed Paulo. This is where it goes, Paulo, I didn't even know how to pronounce his last name. But regardless, Paulo's here. Now, this is what a lot of people are talking about and quite bullish on. We'll talk about it, guys. It could be bullish, could be the most important thing ever. But it is very clear, and he's made it very clear that himself, as particularly Tether, is not involved. And we'll talk about this in a second. Now, we did talk about this, the card, but I just want to show you the socials, right? The reality is that on social media, they have some good establishment. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Paul. Let's do that. I was going to talk about it in the team, but let's do that after. So for now, what we got is this. Let me just quickly run this down by you. This is Binance Square. They have a bit of a report here. This dude right here wrote this, and it's a common consensus across the market with regards to Paulo. Basically, he's the CEO of Tether. Recently confirmed that BitNex, not Tether, this is very important. Not Tether. He said not Tether, but Bitfinex has invested in Plasma XPL. But you have to understand is that Paulo, being the CEO of Tether, saying that it is not Tether did not invest, but Bitnex did. Well, how is he the authority to confirm Bitfinex? Well, it's because he's also part of Bitfinex. So it's like a little bit like his involvement, Bitnex involvement, and Paulo and Tether is right now just like it is like a, how can I say this, guys? They're mingling together here, and the reality is it's hard to draw the line. Is Tether really involved? I'm sure Tether doesn't want to publicly say they're involved with a crypto payments project. They want to keep their business model isolated, secured, safe, away from regulation, and all of that. So what they're trying to do, in my opinion, again, I'm just trying to put my brainstorming hat on here and be real about what could be the strategic play here. from a strategic relationship or partnership, Tether doesn't want anything to do with XPL. I get it. And even though they may want to, from a public perspective, it's not in their, it's not ideal. However, doing it through Bitfinex is possible, and it makes things a little bit more obviously offer transparency, but it keeps Tether away from that connection. This is one more than simple financial injection. Bitfinex is providing advisory support, working closely with Plasma team to define product direction, design, community-driven use cases, and so on. So what's important here is that, to see Paolo part of Bitnex, which he is, and Tether, and to see XPL in the mix, this might be a good thing, right? So this is what a lot of people are bullish on. Earlier on, people were really bullish on the fact that XPL and Tether were, or Tether had a position in XPL. It's Bitfinex, right? And Bitfinex at the end of the day is tied to Paolo. So this is where we are with this at the current moment. Let's continue on going forward from this idea. This idea directly translates, okay, we got the insights that gives us a lot of the social media aspect of things for sure. And, I don't see anything regarding Tether itself, but they do have a lot of good other learning material and news and, VCs everywhere. And what is stablecoins, learning stuff, plasma, and this and that, guys. Check it out. The more you know, the better it is. Look, Bitfinex right here. That's good. They raised lots of capital from them. That's awesome. Right? So just do your due diligence, guys, because it is information is key. Knowledge is power. That's your edge. Let's take a look at the other socials, and we'll jump into the team a little bit more in detail. I was looking here. I did was looking into the plasma and searching for plasma. Any news that we can get, and ultimately all I got was today we're thrilled. This is from February 13th. Thrilled to announce that we've raised this capital from Bitfinex. That's all I really got, really, with regards to relationships and so on. But once you go on their other socials, you can see that they're very active here. They got 200,000 followers, and they're active. They're definitely posting all kinds of different things. The new global financial system is here. This is their pinned comment. Go check it out. $1 pay away, again, showing that you can make micro payments. Cool. What else do we got here? And you can see that you have the spending 2.0, a phone, an app, and then you got the terminal right here. So, insinuating like, we can actually make this happen. Aave, Plasma support on mainnet here on Plasma. BitGet wallet is, supporting Plasma. That's good. Some other good stuff here. To learn more about global regulatory strategy, visit the blog. Yeah, they got a lot of information on that blog. Respect for that. That's good. Maybe a little bit more frequent information might be good, but that's not bad. This is the final tweet. Any further tweets claiming to be from Plasma are not from the Plasma team and should be disregarded. What does that even mean? They're not tweeting anymore? They're not posting? Well, I don't even understand what that means. Plasma is building an on-chain ecosystem to power yields for billions. Like, what does this even mean? October 22nd, guys. Any further tweets claiming to be from Plasma are not from the Plasma team and should be disregarded? Does that mean that all of these after there is none? Well, this one disregarded? Oh, this is a repost. So they're not tweeting anymore. Okay, but this is it. This should be disregarded. I'm confused. This should be disregarded. Okay, I'm confused with that statement. That statement is actually not a good statement. I'm not really keen on that one. I just dropped on that right here. Edition newsletter. Okay, they have newsletters, which is good. What's going on with that? Plasma is expanding its team, hiring. Okay, they do have a hiring. Final tweet, or is this maybe in a thread? Maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe in the thread itself, they put that so that, people don't get scammed. Plasma allowing now listed on Robinhood. That's interesting. They're very interesting. So you can see that they got some good news here, some good fundamentals to be bullish on. And then we got a BitCub exchange. Okay, another exchange. Okay, pretty good. All right, let's move on there. And I explained to you about this. Let's take a look at the team for a second. Now, the team is an interesting conversation because it ties into their socials. It ties into the overall sentiment. A common thing that I've been seeing and hearing and reading from the communities is that the team is let's say the team is MIA a little bit. They're missing in action. Not missing in action from what they're building as an engineers, as developers, as a crypto project, and what they're doing as a Web3 business per se. They're taking care of business. It is there. They're doing what they got to do. But as far as AMAs, doing spaces or engaging with their audience in their community, there's a bit of a lack there, and there's not really much happening, particularly when there's no DAO, right? So the community is left in the shade. There's no way to communicate. There's not much happening there with regards to the team coming out and saying, look, this is what we're dealing with, this is what we're working with, this is what we're building, this is what we're cooking, and there's no roadmap and all of this. So it becomes a little bit difficult for the holders of the token to just be blindly bullish, and that becomes a faith-based system. So these are the Plasma team members. We got Paul, we got Hans, Lucid. This is the COO, Vincent. Some of them have LinkedIn, some of them don't. So I focused on a couple of these guys, and they're young, and they do have their talents. Let's just quickly look. This is the Plasma. They got 42 associate members, and as you can see, they got lots of individuals here. Lots. Okay, so give them a follow. Full time crypto, Trojan for life. We got lots of head of payments, institution, head of institutions, CTO. This dude right here, he's one of the main tech guys there. Scott, senior software engineer, another tech guy, head of the of growth tech. This is one of the main guys as well that was listed on that website, and many others. As you can see lots of results and go see all the talent. Software engineers, Rust developer. So there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot, tons and tons. But we're going to talk about, as you can see, we're going to talk about the main guys, the core team. Paul, what is he about? Does he have the attributes of a leader? As you can see, Plasma, CEO, co-founder of Alloy, full time to present. He's still involved here, which means how can he be the CEO of two companies, especially that this is not a DAO. So what is he focusing on? I'm kind of confused. If he's presently full-time employed here, then where is he part-time at Plasma, or is he also full-time? And if it's full-time, then how long is his day? Like, how is he an 8 hour day is full-time, then he goes for another 8 hours? You get what I mean, guys? Like, what does it mean to be full-time nowadays? I understand, technology gave us the ability to take on a lot more. The thing is that it's not about that. Being able to take on a lot more means that you're able to provide more, not spread yourself thinner. Okay, so in this case, this is questionable. Durbit is great to see them. It's seeing part of the crypto and the deep in the money. Durbit, okay. Project Student, you can see hybrid venture capital. I'm not sure how this works really, but this looks like in his early days of the career crypto and business development, as you can see in the UK. So he's got some good stuff, no doubt. We got Bachelor's of Science, Bachelor's degree in Philosophy. I'm not sure how that plays in, but sure, technology and management. Okay, so he's got Bloomberg Market Concepts, Stanford Statistical Learning. So he does have some technical, as far as I can see, and experience is probably more in the technical side of things, marketing and business development, code and co. So he's got more of experience-based education, Technical University of Munich, Bachelor of Science, Technology and Management, as you see here. So look, seems like a decent individual. Seems like he could be slightly early in his career. Youth is good, guys. What can we say? Youth is good. Let's continue going on forward. Hans Walters. This individual seems to be like the tech guy behind everything. And obviously, the rest of the team is. You can see that there's tons of engineers, tons of talent in the team. But being the core part of the core team, let's see what he has to offer here. Chief Executive Officer of TOPL, Topple, maybe full time. Is he still full time? I'm not sure. 2 years and 4 months in, or is he done? I'm not sure, but it seems like he's remote anyways, and it seems like he's done. But it is what it is. I'm not even sure. Los Alamos National Laboratory. What does this even mean? This is in Mexico. This doesn't even Arizona State University. I don't even think this has anything to do with crypto. Let's check this out. Doesn't have to be per se, but it would be nice, right? We're trying to see where the leadership is at. Most innovative multidisciplinary research institution we engage in strategic science, literally science. Okay, this is not tech or computer science or crypto. This is Topple is developing a Bitcoin layer 2 protocol that supports builders in emerging markets. Interesting. Okay, this is where we're at. This is okay, much better. It is a Bitcoin narrative project. A lot of us, are frown upon those, but it is what it is. At least he has some experience there, and you can see he served as a CTO and later a CEO of Topple until its acquisition. So it means that he's been in a leadership position before in a crypto project. May not be the biggest one, but at least he is aware of what it's all about. So that's pretty much the core team here. And as I mentioned, there are other team members that definitely you can go research. We got head of ecosystem, which is important given that they got a big budget, and the head of growth. Again, how they're going to grow this thing. But without a DAO and without transparency there, things get difficult, guys. Get very, very difficult, especially with that token distribution and the decision making that has to come in the future. Okay, so that's that. As you guys know, I do release an infographic to you guys that I'm going to put on the social media. This is a quick review of recap of what we just talked about. And of course, this is a great way to keep yourself up to date and use as a reference for future. As you can see, Plasma, has a lot of good things going for it. Its ecosystem right now is, for me, this main attribute is Plasma 1. Its main ecosystem project for me, right? Obviously, it's L1 as itself. It's got a lot of good stuff. We talked about its internal infrastructure as far as its tech stack goes. But if we put that aside, ultimately, from a ecosystem base at the current moment, it's Plasma 1. That's their only real key thing for end user at the current moment. Other than that, there's nothing else, right? So offers up to 10% APY in stablecoins, Plasma One card, 4% cashback, and global access across 150 countries. So just to reiterate, this is the only thing that we have that Plasma has right now for the end user. Everything else is back end. Everything else is ecosystem growth. Everything else is L1 implementation. Everything else regarding its ecosystem is tech stack. Okay, so guys, it is what it is. Okay, so I give it 9 out of 10 because for what it's trying to achieve with the stablecoin narrative coupled with this microtransaction type of narrative, a card makes most sense. Is it the most creative? No, we've seen cards before. Is there room for improvement? 100%. Let's be innovative here. Is there something else? I don't know. Maybe there is or maybe there isn't. The reality is that at least they have this and it makes most sense for them to have a card. Okay, so that's that. Utility used for gas. Just keeping in mind that USDT transfers are zero fee. Staking rewards and validator security. That's what it's used for. And Plasma One rewards. So if you're using Plasma One, you get XPL coins in rewards and cashback. Okay, so you can see how the utility and its ecosystem is tied together. Guys, I repeat this a lot when I do my deep dives. Ecosystem drives utility. Okay, we need ecosystem growth. Roadmap, no roadmap. None whatsoever. You don't know where they're going. If they're coming or they're going, what's happening. Nothing there. No DAO. No, any plans for anything. We couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything. Okay, so that's that. Unfortunate but true. The team, experience in venture-backed startups and blockchain solution design. I've seen a lot of what they're, especially the core team, experience in building and researching decentralized tech. Lots of talent within the team itself, not just the core members. Okay, so that's also important because a lot of the times we see core members reach a level where they're CEOs and founders for much more than just a reason for being, blockchain enthusiasts. Sometimes it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time and having the passion to make a startup. But then your responsibility is to hire the talent, and the talent within the team itself, the broader picture, not just the core team, is definitely there. Okay, so it would be nice to see a little bit more of an established core team, with regards to a track record goes. Okay, so 8 out of 10 there. Socials, it's not bad. They got good engagement on their X follower with 100,000 200,000 X followers. Not bad. No Telegram, and the Discord is there and active. I appreciate that. Not much community involvement from the team though. And this is one of the biggest things at the current moment, is that especially as price is falling or has fallen. Okay, we have to understand that. Unfortunately, the XPL price has fallen significantly in the last little while, and it's not just XPL. A lot of the market has taken a bit of a dip here. Now, because of that, the community, the holders, need a little bit of, let's call it, encouragement. Sometimes the team needs just to get out of their comfort zone and face the music, and take the criticism, and make them feel better. Even though it's just appeasing them. It is what it is, guys. Sometimes you need your team, your leadership, to come out and say something and speak, and do an AMA, get out there with the community. And that's one thing that I'm hearing that people are very dissatisfied with. So from a social perspective, they need to pick it up a little bit. Tokenomics, 50% go to early stakeholders. We talked about that. That's very common, especially when you have a lot of VC backing. When you have a lot of VC backing, those individuals are pretty much your threat, because they're going to be looking for a return on their investment. And between the early stakeholders, which is the team and the venture capitalists, guys, you have individuals that got in early. They're called early stakeholders. Vesting 1 year cliff and 2 year linear. That's more or less the schedule. Just keep in mind that the second quarter of 2026, we're going to start to see some of those tokens get released. Inflation goal is 3%. Right now, it's right around the 5%. You have to understand that you have the burning mechanism to counterbalance the inflation that is going to be caused by the reward structure that they have, and the burning mechanism needs to be considered. However, we just need to understand that tokenomics are still not in our favor as far as an investment perspective. There's no doubt in my mind that when we get into a bear market, this project will dump hard, because there's a lot of people that are going to be getting tokens very soon. And especially if we see nice total market cap run to the upside, we are going to see people taking profits. Make sure you do the same, guys, if you're holding this token. Relationships, lots of good relationships, no doubt. We got the Visa license issuer. Now, this is directly related to their ecosystem and their value proposition. And this is why I give them 10 out of 10, because literally it's because this is what they need. I don't see any other very strategic relationship that would be necessary here. In a way, it's better. Very isolated, very secure, very straightforward. Keep your partnerships and your relationships isolated, and very strategic and high quality, and don't overdo it and overcomplicate things. I think this is a great relationship, and the Bitfinex relationship is one that everybody is very bullish on, right? And that's the thing, is remember the indirect relationship with Tether and Paolo and all this kind of stuff. This is still very bullish, right? To have that integration within one of the big players in the field. Okay, so it is what it is, guys. We have exchanges, not many listings per se, because we're missing Coinbase, but nonetheless, it is quite everywhere, right? It is Binance, Bybit, OKX, KuCoin, Mexi, BitNex. Guys, by the way, guys, if you're looking for an exchange, I got links to BitNex below. They're offering a great trading bonus at the current moment, offering some free capital there if you're interested in it. But ultimately, guys, what's most interesting to me is that there's a lot of liquidity out there and across a lot of exchanges, but there's no Coinbase listing. Why not? Why not? It's because Binance really, got involved here, and usually that's a competitive scenario where maybe Binance wants exclusivity, and they say, if I'm going to list, then not on Coin, don't get on Coinbase. And this is the thing here, guys. So it tells you there's a dynamic in power. There's a dynamics in power here, and that's why Binance has a lot of their liquidity. As you noticed, I showed you on chain. They're one of the top holders, right? So you can see that there's a power dynamics between XPL, Binance, and the lack of Coinbase listing tells you that there's a strategic thing happening here with Binance. Okay, so keep that in mind. And bear in mind, these stats and these numbers were based on a couple of days ago, given the fact that, again, I was making this infographic. So it could be a bit expired, but it's okay. It's within a few cents here and there. As of 2026, more or less, as of the 26th of October, more or less, we're right around this price, 37 cents. I'm expecting some moves to the upside in the next little while, as long as Bitcoin and Ethereum can hold up and show us the way, right? We want to see a bit of resurgence. Just keep in mind that the token, at the end of the day, is max supply is infinite, but the total is 10 billion. And right now we're hovering around circulating supply at about 1.8, which means that there's, over 80% that still need to be issued. We got to understand that that's a bit of friction, okay? Because again, future dilution is in play. Okay, very, very possible. Let's quickly look over my verdict, because my verdict, it just highlights a few other little things, reiterates, reinforces, and so on. Let's talk about it in general as an L1 smart contract, stable coin, and BNB type of project. Okay, let's be clear, because it is a BNB project, a Binance project, as you can see, all that liquidity plus the chain in itself. Okay, so it is what it is. 40% going to ecosystem growth is healthy. Although 50% are going to early stakeholders, at least we realize that 40% is going to ecosystem growth. The worst thing about this is that how is that going to be issued? Is there a governance? Is there a DAO? That has not been established. There's no roadmaps telling us that that's the case. We don't know who's calling the shots. If it's the core team, is there a foundation? Is there who it is it? And we don't even know exactly what their mindset is, because not only do they do not have a roadmap, but they don't do many social platforms where they come out and speak and do AMAs and speak their mind. This is a bit of that, you leaving your investor base in the dark a little bit here. That's how I feel. Nonetheless, let me know how you feel, guys, about this whole concept, because again, it's only my perspective. My perspective is not the only, and it is just one, right? Paulo, at the end of the day, is the CTO of Tether and the CEO of Bitfinex, has publicly supported Plasma and is closely associated with its ecosystem. This is the thing. This is where you have this, let's call it the trilemma here, because you have this trilemma here because you want to be bullish on the fact that Tether is involved in within the same names of Bitfinex, but we know that Bitfinex is all over Plasma. And then you have Paulo, whereas Paulo's definitely involved in both projects. Like, this is like a little bit of a family feud happening here that could be super positive, definitely positive, right? The problem is that is Tether going to come out fully and say, no, we back XPL and we hold a position? Nah. They would never do that, guys. That would be strategically insane. That's not what you want. Tether has to stay away from everything crypto and keep itself isolated from threats, especially regulatory. So you have to understand what they're using BitNex for as a intermediary now, or a third party. Now, again, this could be a foil hat thesis. Take it as you want, guys, but at the end of the day, this is what it is. Okay, so you choose how you want to digest that. Consensus, their consensus system is quite interesting. Plasma, hot stuff based. This is a leader based consensus model where one validator proposes a block and the other validates it, enabling faster and efficient finality. Guys, we're seeing this speed concept permeate throughout the space. I think speed is stabilized. Let's put it that way. Competitively, a lot of these projects are fast enough to the point that we're becoming desensitized with this speed concept. For the most part, all these L1s have achieved speeds of which we're all content with. So it's not really a value proposition that is unique or that is going to separate it as a its core competency, or its value proposition that is going to be a point of differentiation. It's not the case. There's speed everywhere, so it is what it is. Execution layer, again, EVM compatible, guys. This is another thing that is common. It's almost like a necessity, right? Like, because we're seeing a lot of chains become EVM, and the ones that don't, for the most part, because I'll be very, very loose about that, they do struggle. The EVM is a way to create an ecosystem that is frictionless. Okay, it's less friction. Let's put it that way. Custom gas token. This is very interesting. Users can pay gas fees in whitelisted tokens, which is important to understand. Tokens that are whitelisted, including Bitcoin-backed assets. So any token that is whitelisted, and it is acceptable, or that it could even include any Bitcoin-backed assets, which is not native Bitcoin in itself, but Bitcoin that, or an asset that is backed by Bitcoin, which could be a wrapped Bitcoin token, right? So not native. Just understand that, because even the documentation there made it a little bit vague, and I don't want you to think that Bitcoin in itself can be transacted to and made liquid on their L1. Okay, it is what it is. Now, as far as again, projections and all of this, guys, this is a topic that I really dislike sharing, because a lot of people don't understand what this means. And I had to kind of really strategically put this word projections here. Guys, projection means like if things go the way they're supposed to, projected, right? If you think about the conditions, market conditions, bull run, alt season, total market cap reaching a little bit higher, the way we project the market to go, and we start to see competitively what XPL is trying to achieve. Now I chose ENA, not because ENA is exactly the same. It is the stablecoin narrative. It is a bigger project. XPL is looking for micropayments and other avenues, and so on and so as an L1 and so on and so forth. A little different, but still similar enough to say, look at the industry where it's taking the stablecoin narrative. ENA has been doing great. ENA is another very institutionalized product, and because of the stablecoin narrative, it makes sense to be get that institutional feel. As you can see, if XPO even catches up to the market cap of ENA, okay, and again, I'm not comparing the two projects specifically in that great amount of detail because they are somewhat different, but similar enough to suggest, look, XPL can do a 5x, even based on its market cap on itself. It could do a 5x, right? But we need to see the total market cap do well. We need to see Ethereum break out. We need to see Bitcoin maybe go for another extension. And more importantly, we need to see the total market cap reach maybe 6, 7, maybe 10 max. Again, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know the future. But, if we do not see the total market cap increase from here, from 4 trillion, hovering around 4 trillion to maybe 6, guys, we're not going to see XPL do a 5x. And in fact, if we get into a bear market, XPL can come down. But if we are going to project what the cycle should provide, and based on the overall macro thesis, guys, I can see XPL hitting right around $2. I don't see a reason why not, given that it has all those little features and some good implementation. Yes, there are some things that are like, okay, you're just another L1 concept, but guys, this is it. We have to start to see these L1s specialize in narratives and tailor and tool their tech stack to benefit those narratives. Or else specialization, is for nothing. Specialization is how we as a industry can provide better software solutions for those specific use cases. So overall, as a package, guys, unfortunately, it's the team that kind of bothers me. The whole sentiment behind the social engagement, the roadmap, their utility because of the lack of DAO, and their tokenomics being very aggressive because of the venture capitalists. In fact, even 7 might be a little bit, generous. The reality is that there are some negatives here, but there's some good positives. And this is typical, very typical of new projects that come out with high expectations, and tokenomics that are a little bit imbalanced. Wait for those tokenomics to balance out. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts as well, so let's see what's going on with the Plasma XPL price. At the end of the day, guys, as you can see, as this thing ran up, it also ran down. In fact, not only did it come down, but it made a lower low. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, we just got to be a little bit honest here, is that, okay, it pumped up and obviously people took profit. It pumped up hard based on the Binance narrative. It was nice, good volume to the upside, equal volume to the downside, and sell pressure was in. As you can see, and if you recall, on the Discord and here with the community, we did trade this. It did very, very well on the upside. And then obviously to the downside, I, obviously traded it to the downside. And we did pretty good on this break of structure. As soon as on lower time frames, we started making lower lows right into here. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in this anymore, because you can see how it started to get into a distribution. And then right into here, this was the time to start shorting. Then once we got into this level, I started to deploy. I started, okay, I'm gonna buy some. I made some good gains to the upside. I made some good gains to right about here. I exited my shorts, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start to DCA. Now, DCA is obviously a great strategy, but it's also important to keep in mind your worst case scenario when DCAing. Unfortunately, the worst case scenario was never to come down here. The worst case scenario was to maybe hunt this liquidity right into this zone, which if you kind of look right, it's not even a high liquidity level. It's not like there's a lot of volume in itself. As you can see, look at this. It's dead. Like it's not much happening. The volume came in hot right here. Boom, straight up. and then came straight back down to this level. I believe was the area where the CEO of Tether started saying that Tether didn't have involvement, and then slowly we start to see the negativity stick kick in here. But the imbalance was there, guys. The imbalance, the threat to see the price fall right through was here based on the lack of liquidity in this level, the lack of volume. Then we came down to this level. Okay, guys, I know what we try to really do is erase what happened on October 10th, right into this zone on Friday. That dip, the systematic failure of our systems that we got going on caused this flush. And this is one of the projects that literally dipped into the wick and filled approximately, let's say, 50% of it. And at the current moment, we're holding okay. What I'm saying is that literally as I'm talking, I'm zooming in, and I'm on the 1 hour, guys. You guys know that I don't trade the 1 hour very, very often. I'm more of a 4 6 hour big positions momentum trader. I accumulate big bags and just hold on tight. That's the type of person I am, right? At the end of the day, my trading style fits who I am as a person and my lifestyle. Let's put it that way. Now, at this point, what I do like about this is this: I see a strong V recovery, and I see a nice passive accumulation range potentially in the work. There's no doubt in my mind at this current moment it would be irresponsible of me not to consider that we could still be in a bear market or a bearish scenario where we kind of maybe even come up here and then come down for another dip. This is very, very possible. So what I want to say right now is if you're getting into anything right now, by the way, I did DCA into this level again. So I'm slowly laddering in. This is a great level to potentially take a bit of risk. But I have to be real about the possibility. This could eventually structure out to be a bearish flag where we just continue coming down. But in the short term, we have to understand that there's a range. Okay, there's a range being built. Now we can classify this as the range high. Let me just get some formal lines going instead of just scribbles. All right, let's get some formal lines. So let's this is the range high. I'll make these a little bit thicker so they can pop out in comparison to the rest. This is the range highs. Let's make this thinner so we don't clutter up a little bit, right? That's the breakout that we were following, and I made this chart available to you guys on the Discord. Ultimately, what we are looking for is the range highs and the range lows. Okay, this is this is the trading range at the moment. The problem is that even within the range, we could literally be going up to range highs, right? Are we going to do that in one go? Well, the truth is that I would like to see a change of character on this structure. Highs, lower high, still a lower high, low, lower low, lower low. This trend is still intact. Although it broke the trend line, guys, please don't be a newbie and trade trend lines. You're trading market structure. The structure of the price action will tell you if we broke the trend or not. And still we're making lower lows and lower highs. What would change the direction of this trend is a change of character of the market structure, is a higher low. Let's close a low, at least one dip lower than this low, and that's where we get in, right? And that's where we put the stop loss underneath here, and then we get into a better option of a risk to reward. We break the top. What does that produce? Once we break the top, it makes a higher high right into this level. As you can see, a higher high after a higher low starts to define a reversal, a change of character of the market structure. No more lower lows and lower highs, but a higher low and a higher high. Then we can potentially start impulsing and reversing and doing these things and breaking the range, which is the most important thing out of this whole thing that I'm trying to show you. Is that the question is this area building a pivot point structure so that we can actually visit the top of the range? And you'll note that even visiting the top of the range, yeah, you might have won the battle, but you didn't win the war, because the war is reclaiming all its old price action all the way to the top after the dump, which in my opinion, XPL has a huge potential to do. It definitely can. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. So what I want to just make clear here is, although we're still in a downtrend, what we're looking for is evidence of a reversal. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to happen this way. We're on a Sunday, we're showing green, the market's nice and green, okay, which is rare, and it's usually a precursor of a nice green Monday, Tuesday, maybe the rest of the week. It's very in line with what could be happening here for the rest of the cycle, okay? But what about if we continue moving up? The reality is that this is the level that I would be watching. We continue moving up, we sweep these highs, maybe we come down from there, and then we get the confirmation of low, higher low. We already made a higher high, right? but we made a higher high, a higher low. The trend is your friend. So the thing is that it doesn't necessarily have to be where we get rejected here and roll over here at the bottom of this order block, because that could happen, right into here, come down, higher low, and then go up for the higher high. We can actually get the higher high on the breakout and make this a failed breakout, right? Inducement above the previous highs right here, and then come down for the backtest confirmation. It doesn't even have to backtest that deep, to be honest. In fact, it doesn't even need to retrace. It could even just flag out. And this is something that I want you to be very aware of. If we impulse like this and we flag, guys, be prepared to put a stop loss and continue. It happens, guys. It happened here to the downside. Impulsive move, sideways, 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 impulsive move. Why can't we do the same thing here? So what I'm trying to tell you guys is this is the moment of what you got to watch right now. This is watch list material. You should be looking for a proper market structure that's going to give you an entry from a risk to reward perspective. You position of strength. You want to buy dips, and you want to buy where your horizontal supports are there to catch you with that stop loss. Because right now, where you're going to put your stop loss, all the way down here is the only place. And then if you look at your risk to reward, you're going to start looking like, okay, it's an 18% dip, 20% dip before I get stopped out. That's significant, guys. Even a 5x position will get you liquidated. So leverage is not really the best, maybe a low leverage position. But on a dip, if we can, from here, again, getting rejected right around here based on this volume, right? Because it's an emotional level. Maybe we come down. If we come down to this level, even 50%, into a discount zone on this pump, guys, that's your area. Get a nice rounded bottom, V recovery, rounded bottom. That's your entry. If we break out, two things to wait for: either retracement and a deep retracement down into here, or flag it out, stop loss continuation. Regardless, you have to be able to put a stop loss somewhere where you are coming in from a position of strength. At this moment, yeah, it's a bit tough, because you're going to have to come down 20%. It could come down 20% to make that lower low. What you really want to do right now, guys, is maybe focus on spot. Spot is safe. Why? Because the worst case scenario, yeah, you still have your tokens, you don't get liquidated, and you just got to hold on tight to see XPL reverse. And obviously, this is all on the basis, all on the premise that you're fundamentally bullish. If you're not, guys, it's very hard to digest. Why? Zoom out. Let's get back into the daily. This is why it is very hard to digest what's happening right now. Look at this, guys. Okay, so it's a very tough thing. Obviously, getting back above, and again, big picture, what we were strategizing is to get back above the 50-cent mark. This was that range, just to make it clear. Remember the range that I defined? We want to get that market structure here so we can get to the top of the range and finally fly through this imbalance. We fly through the imbalance. We actually get above the critical zone of 50%, of 50 cents. We get back above backtest and spring. After this, guys, the next node of liquidity is here where there's resistance, and that's where I would watch out for my next pullback or reaction or an exchange of hands or whatever the case may be. But the likelihood is once we leave this area and we start trending to the upside, the likelihood is that people are going to start to FOMO in this market, and XPL might start cranking to the upside, guys. All right, so keep this all in mind. If I offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. See you tonight at 8 PM EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.